According to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons, better known as NamUs, as many as 600,000 people go missing every year, many of whom have never been located. This figure is estimated to increase yearly, adding even more cold cases to the already lengthy list. Number 10. In February of 2024, 24-year-old Chalice Angel Welch was living in Arlington, Texas, along with her 4 children. To make ends meet, she worked nights as a server in a local restaurant. But on the 2nd of February, she disappeared without a trace, and her family is desperate for answers in her case. At around 10:30 that night, Chalice got a ride with a friend to a birthday party that was being held at the Embassy Suites by Hilton. The hotel is situated in Irving, Texas, specifically at 4650 West State Highway 183. She spent some time with a few of her friends who were also at the party, but they would later report that they'd seen her getting into a car with a man who they didn't recognize. The pair then drove away, and Chalice has not been seen since. When she didn't return home the next day, her family decided to file a missing person report, since it was very out of character for her to stay out of touch, especially with her children. One of the children celebrated their birthday just 3 days later, and when Chalice failed to attend, they knew something was very wrong. Her mother later told investigators that she felt as though Chalice had been taken somewhere against her will, but she remained hopeful that CCTV footage from the hotel would provide them with some answers. But there's been no update as to what the footage revealed, if anything. A search of the hotel revealed that she left her jacket and a few other items behind, which may suggest that she was planning to return to the party, but this has not been confirmed. During the search, her phone was traced and was found to have last pinged off a tower close to Walnut Hill and Central Expressway in Dallas. Alarmingly, the phone was either turned off or the battery died at around 12:30 a.m. When investigators tried to gather more information on the device, Chalice's service provider revealed that the phone had since been tampered with and now could no longer work. Further searches didn't result in any clues being found, but investigators have stated that they continue to work on the case and welcome any leads that come in to provide the missing woman's family with the answers they need. They've shared a description of Chalice provided by her family. She has brown hair and hazel eyes, stands between 5'7" and 5'8" inches tall, weighing between 145 and 150 pounds. The last time that she was seen at a party, she was wearing a black mesh shirt with polka dots, black leggings, a red jacket, and slippers with a leopard print design. If you or anyone you know has any information on where Chalice is or what could have happened to her, you're urged to contact the Irving Police Department at 972-273-1010, quoting agency case number 240002532. Chalice's NamUs case number is MP116308. Number 9. 22-year-old Haley Murphy is yet another woman who's gone missing from Texas. In her case, which has remained unsolved since June of 2023, she disappeared from Round Rock but lived in Temple Bell County with her 2-year-old child. Before any of this happened, she served in the military for 3 years, but she was eventually medically discharged due to issues she was having with her hips. When she went missing, she was studying business and was in the midst of obtaining her real estate license. Her sister, Harley, with whom she was very close, told investigators that she gave Haley a ride to a pool hall on the 16th of June. The bar was called Slick Willie's, and they arrived there just after 9 p.m. Haley then got out of the car and into another vehicle with a male friend of hers. It had started raining heavily, and Harley would speak to her sister again later that night when Haley phoned her to ask if she got home all right. She told her that the power in the bar had gone out, and Harley could hear the sound of people talking in the bar in the background. She would also report that Haley phoned her earlier that day to let her know that she was thinking about changing her phone number. When asked why, she explained that she felt too many people had her number, and that it would be better if she changed it. She also mentioned that she would be visiting her ex-boyfriend. Harley knew that her sister's plans were for the rest of the weekend. She told her that after attending the party, she planned on staying over at a friend's house, and the following morning she would get a rental car to drive her to her ex-boyfriend's house. But it soon became apparent that her plans had gone awry at some point. She never got the rental car as planned and never made it to her ex-boyfriend's birthday party, But her family didn't find this strange, since she wasn't supposed to be back home until the end of the weekend, and they thought she'd simply changed her plans. But when she still hadn't returned home by Sunday, her mother phoned Harley to ask if she'd been in contact with her, which she hadn't. She told her mother that she'd texted her the previous day but hadn't received a reply. She didn't find this strange either, since she was spending time out of town, and she assumed she would reply when she had some free time. Different members of the family tried to get a hold of her, but to no avail, and when their texts stopped going through to her phone, they started to become concerned. By Tuesday, they still hadn't heard from her, and they decided to file a missing person report with the Austin Police Department, who then handed the case over to the Texas Rangers. Several witnesses came forward to report that they'd seen Haley in the bar that night, and that she was playing darts before eventually leaving at around 11:30 p.m. with the same male friend that she was seen with earlier. When her bank account was checked, it showed no recent activity. Her phone was still off, and she hadn't made any posts on any of her social media accounts. No one has heard from Haley since, and her case remains under investigation. She's described as having short blonde or strawberry blonde hair and hazel eyes. She stands 5 foot tall and at the time weighed 100 pounds. She can be recognized by her tattoos, the first of which is the letters GSM behind her left ear. She also has another of a third eye symbol on her neck, a fairy on her chest, the names Braxton and Mitchell, along with elephants on one arm, and a sleeve on her other arm that includes the picture of a tree. She also has words tattooed down her spine and a skull and a snake on her right thigh. The last time that Haley was seen, she was wearing jean shorts, a purple t-shirt, and light purple Vans shoes. Anyone who spots Haley or who knows where she may be is asked to contact the Austin Police Department at 512-974-5250 or the Texas Rangers at 512-424-2160, quoting agency case number 23501-5040. Her NamUs case number is MP104867. Number 8. Some missing person cases remain unsolved for decades, without explanation. A perfect example of this being the disappearance of 28-year-old Brenda Condon, who mysteriously disappeared from Spring Township in Pennsylvania in 1991. Brenda was divorced at the time, and her 2 children were living with her ex-boyfriend. She'd started a new relationship 2 years before her disappearance and was living with her boyfriend in Harvest Circle while working as a bartender at a bar called Carlsbad Tavern. It was a new job that she'd started just 2 weeks earlier, but she also had a second job since she was running 2 branches of a home cleaning company, one of which was based in State College and the other was in Williamsport. On the 27th of February of that year, she worked a shift at the bar and finished at around 1:15 a.m. The man who was drinking at the bar stated that he saw her talking to a man before leaving, but he couldn't say who the man was. It was Brenda's responsibility to lock up that night, and she was scheduled to work another shift later that morning at 10 a.m. She would work until 6 p.m., after which she was relieved by the next shift. But when employees arrived, she found that the bar was unlocked with no one inside. They spotted Brenda's car, a 1986 Mercury Capri, in the parking lot, and inside the bar they found her cowboy boots in the men's restroom. They searched the building and the parking lot but couldn't locate her. They found it strange that her boots were still in the bar, since she didn't have any others with her, and if she'd left, it would mean that she was barefoot. A missing person report was filed, but the investigation only began on the 2nd of March, when she didn't pick up her children as planned. The bar was processed by investigators who found no signs of foul play or that a robbery had taken place, since nothing was missing. Her car was also searched but yielded no further clues, as her purse and keys were never found. The area surrounding the bar was searched, but also didn't provide investigators with any leads. People at the bar reported seeing 3 different unknown men that night. The first was described as about 40 years old and was said to be wearing a bright blue jacket and jeans. The second man was about 27 years old and was wearing a black leather coat with a white shirt and jeans. The third man was older, about 50, and was also wearing a dark jacket, but had dark pants on with a brown plaid shirt. The 3 men were never identified, but they've also not been named as persons of interest in the case, since it isn't known whether they had any involvement in Brenda's disappearance. Brenda's boyfriend was also questioned, but he was cleared of all suspicion. When the case remained unsolved for the next 6 years, it was turned over to the state police, and it remains under investigation. It's been speculated that Brenda's life was ended, but this has never been proven. She's described as having brown or red hair with blue eyes, standing 5 foot 4 inches tall and weighing 110 pounds. She has a tattoo of a few roses on her ankle and was known to wear green contact lenses. It's known that on the night she disappeared, she was wearing blue jeans with silver studs, a black tank top, and a silver shirt. A $5,000 reward is being offered to anyone who has information on Brenda's whereabouts. You can contact the Pennsylvania State Police Rockview Station at 814-355-7345. Number 7. In August of 2009, Kamisha Williams was a 24-year-old woman living with her grandmother in Byhalia, Mississippi. She had 2 children and was known to enjoy riding her bike, but on the 9th of August of that year, she suddenly disappeared without explanation. Not many details are available in her case, but what we do know is that she visited one of her friends in town that morning, having cycled there. She was then seen leaving her friend's trailer and cycling away at around 11 a.m. She never made it home, and when her grandmother became concerned, she contacted the police and filed a missing person report. Searches for her yielded no results, and investigators were left baffled. Later that night, though, Kamisha's cell phone dialed the number of a male friend of hers who lived in Memphis, Tennessee. When her cell phone records were checked, the call was found to have been made from somewhere close to the Mississippi-Tennessee border, which isn't far from her grandmother's house. But investigators were unable to ascertain whether Kamisha was the one who made the call, or if it was by someone who'd somehow gotten a hold of it. This is the last time that the phone was ever used, and it isn't known what happened to it after that. No further clues have ever been found in Kamisha's case, and 15 years later, investigators are no closer to finding out what happened to her. No signs of foul play were found, and her case remains an open missing person investigation. Kamisha is described as having black hair and brown eyes. She stands about 5 foot 7 inches tall, and at the time weighed 115 pounds. She can also be identified by several tattoos, including one of her own name on her left leg, another of the name Kamari on her right forearm, and the name Mariana on her right leg. Her friend told investigators that when she left the trailer, she was wearing a purple tank top and blue jeans with white Reebok sneakers. She's also known to have been carrying a gold and white purse, which has never been recovered. Kamisha's bicycle was also never recovered, and it's believed that if it's ever found, it could provide investigators with further clues into the mystery. The fact that there are so few details in this case makes it all the harder for investigators to make headway into solving the mystery of her disappearance. While Kamisha's case has gone cold, investigators have stated that they welcome any leads that come in, and that anyone who's seen Kamisha or who knows what happened to her should get in contact with the Marshall County Sheriff's Office at 662-252-1311, quoting agency case number 091-411/0908-13-DH1. Kamisha's name as case number is MP12008. Number 6. 21-year-old Gemini or Gemini Posey has been missing since January of 2024, and her family has asked that anyone who has any information on her case come forward, since leads have dried up without her being found. Gemini is a member of the Spirit Lake tribe and spent her childhood growing up in the quiet surroundings of Devil's Lake in North Dakota. Her sister Jade says that Gemini is an outgoing person who makes friends easily. She'd given birth just 8 months before her disappearance, something that she and her family saw as somewhat of a miracle, since she was told when she was younger that she wouldn't be able to conceive. About a month before her disappearance, she'd moved in with her boyfriend in Fort Totten, but the relationship was seemingly not going to plan, since she arrived at her mother's house on the 3rd of January with all of her belongings. She told her mother that she was moving back to Devil's Lake, but she soon changed her mind and moved back to Fort Totten. On the 7th of January, she left the apartment that she shared with her boyfriend and never returned. He's thought to be the last person to see her. 3 days later, Jade became concerned when she received a text from Gemini's boyfriend's grandmother, stating that they'd not seen her or been able to contact her since she left the apartment. It isn't known why it took them 3 days to relay this information, but the next day her mother filed a missing person report at the Taunton Police Department. The first person to be interviewed was Gemini's boyfriend, who stated that she had plans to be picked up by one of her friends, and that she stated she would be back later that same day. When she left, he was busy playing a video game and didn't pay attention to who it was that picked her up. Searches of the area were performed with the use of search dogs, but they were unable to track her and no clues were found. Investigators believed that she may have been in the Grand Forks area on the 5th or 8th of January, but this was never confirmed. Her family has stated that she would never disappear willingly, since she loves her daughter and would never abandon her. She's also in the habit of informing her family of her plans, and since she hasn't done so, they're extremely worried about her welfare. Gemini is described as having blonde hair and hazel eyes, standing between 4'7" and 4'8" tall, and weighing between 120 and 125 pounds. Her family told investigators that she has a scar on her forehead and a tattoo of an infinity symbol on her right ankle. She also has a tattoo on her right collarbone. She usually wears eyeglasses, but when she left the apartment that day, she didn't have them with her. It's known that the last time that she was seen, she was wearing a yellow Nike sweater, but her boyfriend wasn't able to describe the rest of her outfit. No leads have ever been found in Gemini's case, and the friend who picked her up on the day that she disappeared has never been identified. If you know who Gemini was with that day, or have any information on her current whereabouts, you're urged by investigators to contact the Fort Totten Police Department at 701-766-4231, or the Devils Lake Police Department at 701-662-0700, or the FBI tip line at 800-225-5324. Number 5. The case of the disappearance of 19-year-old Misha Johnson is one that has many twists and turns and has resulted in her husband, Dwayne Johnson, being arrested, but she's still not been located. Misha and Dwayne had gotten married just shortly before she disappeared, and at the time she was expecting their first child. She told her family that she was excited for the baby to be born, since she was looking forward to being a mother, and by all accounts she loved Dwayne very much. Dwayne was serving as a U.S. Army private first class, and the couple was living at the Schofield Barracks in Oahu, Hawaii, when she went missing. Her mother provided investigators with her last known movements, since they spent some time together on the 11th of July 2024 doing some shopping at a local Costco. She spoke to her mother again the following day, telling her that Dwayne had been unfaithful to her and that she made plans to meet up with her sister at a restaurant later that evening, but she never made it there. Her sister then received a text from her phone stating that she was feeling under the weather and decided to stay home. Dwayne told investigators that he last saw her on the 31st of July while they were at home, and he was the one who reported her missing the next day, the 1st of August. He made the report to the Department of the Army Criminal Investigation Division, stating that he was unable to locate her. Her family would receive many more texts from her phone between the 12th of July and the 1st of August, but they're certain that they were sent by someone else, since the messages contained a different style of punctuation and tone than those usually used by Misha. Witnesses came forward to report that between the 14th and 19th of July, they'd seen a red Mustang parked about 2 miles from the couple's home, on the side of Kamehameha Highway, and Misha's family feels strongly that this car has something to do with her disappearance. It's also known that Dwayne had invited a woman to his house on the 15th of July, further proving his infidelity. Misha's mother has asked that anyone who has information on the Mustang come forward, since it could be the lead that investigators are missing. Dwayne was taken into custody and charged by the U.S. Army Council with providing false statements, obstruction of justice, and another charge. He's been placed in military confinement, and no further information regarding his involvement has been released. A $10,000 reward is being offered to anyone with information leading to the case being brought to a close. Misha is described by her family as having brown hair and brown eyes, standing 5'2" tall and weighing 170 pounds at the time that she went missing. She also has a tattoo of a dragon on her back. Unfortunately, it isn't known what she was wearing the last time that she was seen. Misha's mother says that she's certain someone in the area knows something about the case or Dwayne's involvement, but they failed to come forward. She's now hopeful that more information will come to light from the surrounding community and that her daughter will eventually be found. If you know anything about Misha's disappearance or can help move the investigation forward, you're asked to contact the Army Criminal Investigation Division at 808-208-0059. Misha's name as case number is MP126872. Number 4. Investigators have confirmed that they suspect foul play in the disappearance of 23-year-old Peggy Ashley Vincent, who mysteriously disappeared on the 29th of July, 2000, from Scottsville, Kentucky. At the time, Peggy had 3 children, 2 of whom lived with their fathers. She was working at Federal Mogul on the day of her disappearance, and she'd gotten into a fight with her boyfriend, an incident that resulted in a police report being filed, since he attacked her with a weapon. The report was filed at the Allen County Sheriff's Department after she drove herself there. According to officers, she left the department at around 1:30 a.m. and then drove to the A.O. Smith electrical motor plant. They've not revealed what the argument was about or whether her boyfriend was arrested as a result. Surveillance footage from the parking lot showed her being closely followed by another car. She parked her car, got out, and then got into a white truck with a man named Calvin Smith. The pair then left the area. Strangely, Peggy was only reported as missing 2 days later when her babysitter reported that she never came home. The babysitter was looking after Peggy's 8-month-old baby, and it isn't known why she decided to wait so long before notifying anyone that she was missing. Furthermore, she didn't contact the police, but rather called the Department of Social Services and reported that Peggy was in the habit of hiring a sitter for a certain amount of time, only to leave her child with them for longer than the agreed upon time. On one occasion, she left her 1-year-old daughter with her mother before leaving with the truck driver. She only returned a week later without informing anyone where she was. In this latest incident, though, she never returned and her whereabouts remain a mystery. When Calvin Smith, the man with the white truck, was questioned, he stated that Peggy asked him to take her to a payphone, and after she made the call, he took her back to her car, which was still in the A.O. Smith electrical motor plant parking lot. When the payphone was checked, though, it was found that no call was made from there that night, and CCTV footage from the parking lot showed that he never took her back to her car. When Peggy's bank account was checked, it showed that she'd not accessed it since her disappearing. Her boyfriend was able to provide an alibi for the night that she went missing, and this was confirmed by investigators. Calvin Smith is considered to be a person of interest in the case, since evidence led investigators to his barn in Munfordville, but he was never arrested. Peggy is described as having blonde hair and blue eyes. She weighs 120 pounds and stands 5 foot 9 inches tall. She has the initials JJ tattooed on her right arm, a horse's head on her left arm, and a horse on her lower back. She's also known to have a pierced belly button. The last time that she was seen, Peggy was wearing blue jeans, a white t-shirt, and black shoes. It's now been 24 years since Peggy went missing, and investigators have asked anyone from the public with information on the case to come forward, since no further clues have ever been found. If you know what happened to Peggy that night, or have information on where she can be found, you're asked to contact the Allen City Sheriff's Department at 270-237-3210. Her name is case number is MP64. Number 3. At the time of his disappearance in June of 2023, Jean-Pierre White was an ex-football coach living in Ruston, Louisiana. His family has described him as a quiet man with a kind demeanor, and despite being very athletic, would never hurt a fly. While attending Ruston High School, he excelled at track and football, after which he attended Jones County Junior College in Mississippi, where he played football for 2 seasons. Following this, he played for the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs for 2 seasons. When he disappeared, he was in the midst of attaining his bachelor's degree and had planned to move to Houston, Texas once this was done. But before making the move, he decided to look for work since it would make the transition much smoother. On the 1st of June, he boarded a Greyhound bus in Grambling with the intention of traveling to Houston to look for work. He remained there for several weeks but always kept in touch with their family, updating them on his progress. But then his messages, which were being sent via Facebook Messenger, suddenly stopped, and his family last heard from him in mid-July. It isn't known whether he had a cell phone, since he was using his laptop to contact his family. They also told investigators that they didn't understand why he wanted to move to Texas, since he didn't even have any friends there. When they were unable to get a hold of him, his bank account was checked and found to have seen some activity in Missouri City a few months after he disappeared. The account has since been closed, due to the overdraft. When all efforts to contact John All failed, his family traveled to Houston to search for him, but they had no luck. They started handing out flyers with information on his case in hopes that someone would remember seeing him, but this failed to deliver any leads. A private investigator was hired to help with the case, but nothing further was discovered. The family has since stated that they've been left devastated by John All's absence, and that his mother in particular is struggling to understand what happened to him. They added that he never missed Thanksgiving and Christmas with his family, making those dates all the harder since he disappeared. But they are hopeful that he will come home eventually, and that their family will be whole again. In April of 2024, his family traveled to Houston to attend a yearly event hosted by the Texas Center for the Missing. The event aims to raise awareness of all the people who remain missing throughout Southeast Texas. They've expressed their concerns at the fact that he's failed to contact them since this is very out of character, and have described dealing with his disappearance as a living nightmare. They've appealed to John All to contact them by any means necessary, since they just want to be certain that he's alive and well. When he was last seen, he was dressed in a black hoodie, black jogger pants, and black shoes. Investigators welcome any leads in the case and have urged anyone who sees John All or who knows where he might be to contact the Lincoln Parish Sheriff's Office at 318-251-6418, quoting case number 2400625. His name is case numbers MP120767. Number 2. 38-year-old Michael Keith Gorley has been missing since the 17th of May, 2015. He disappeared from his hometown of Stanford in Kentucky following a run-in with the law and has not been seen or heard since. At the time, Michael was living with his mother, Sandra Hasty, and had just completed a 5-day stint in jail. He was arrested along with 3 of his friends following a traffic stop, during which the 4 were found to be in possession of an illegal substance. Michael and another man were eventually released thanks to the verdict of a grand jury, but the remaining 2 occupants of the car were sent to prison after they were found guilty of trafficking charges. The last time that Sandra saw him was on the morning of the 17th of May, when he told her that he was leaving to visit a friend. He then got into his car, a gray 2004 Ford Explorer, and drove away. Later that afternoon, at around 3:45 p.m., the 2 women arrived at Sandra's house to report that Michael had crashed his car into a pond located on Wilderness Trail Road. The owner of the property was less than impressed and was asking for the vehicle to be removed from the pond. Sandra raced to the scene and found Michael's car with 2 tires in the pond, but couldn't find her son anywhere. She then contacted members of the family who helped retrieve the truck, and the search for Michael was underway. They called all of his friends to see if they'd heard from him, but no one had. A witness reported seeing him at one of his friend's house at 8:45 p.m. that day, adding that the house was located in the 5000 block of Knoblick Road. When that friend was questioned, they stated that Michael had walked away from their house and was heading toward Junction City. But there's a discrepancy in this report, since Sandra phoned the residence at 11 p.m. and was told that Michael was still there. Becoming ever more concerned, Sandra and her daughter decided to go to the house where he was last seen. And there, they found his shoes and hat where they'd been left on the porch, but found no trace of Michael. They felt that something strange was going on, and so decided to flag down a state trooper to report that Michael hadn't come home and was now missing. The family was initially frustrated by the investigation, as they were told that Michael was an adult and was allowed to go missing if he chose to. Sandra found it suspicious that his friends insisted that he left the house that night, since she felt that he would never go anywhere without his shoes. She later stated that he even wore shoes while he was indoors at home. The family conducted several searches of the area on their own, since the police hadn't started an investigation yet, but they found no trace of him. It would only be 6 months later that his shoes were collected from the family's house, and luckily Sandra had placed them in a plastic bag to retain any possible evidence. The lead detective in the case, Detective Frank Thornberry, has since interviewed more than 50 people in connection with the case, but has found no further clues, leading Michael's family to believe that his life has been ended for reasons unknown. Sandra has stated her belief that one of his friends drove his truck into the pond in an effort to dispose of evidence, but this remains just a theory. A private detective is also investigating the case, but has made very little headway. No suspects have ever been identified, and Michael's disappearance remains a mystery. He's described as having brown hair and brown eyes, standing between 5'10" and 6 foot tall, and weighing 230 pounds. He had a goatee at the time that he went missing. Anyone who knows what happened to Michael is asked to contact the Kentucky State Police at 859-623-2404. His name is case number is MP29487. Number 1. Investigators and the family of 28-year-old Mamta Bhatt are still searching for her after she disappeared from Manassas Park in Virginia on the 31st of July 2024. Mamta originally hails from Nepal and relocated to the US in November of 2021. Here, she moved to Fairfax County, where she shared an apartment with a roommate, and soon she met a man named Naresh, who she married, and with whom she had an 11-month-old child. When she went missing, she was living with Naresh and their child in the Blooms Crossing neighborhood, and was working as a pediatric nurse at the Yuva Health Prince William Medical Center. Her coworkers reported that they last saw her at the center on the 27th of July, and one of her friends stated that they tried to call her the following day, but she unfortunately missed the call since she was busy and wasn't able to answer. She then never called back. Naresh last saw her at home on the day that she went missing, but the following day she didn't arrive for her shift at the center. One of her coworkers became concerned since this was out of character, and asked the police to conduct a welfare check at her house. When they arrived, they found Naresh at home, but he made no mention of the fact that she was missing. Mamta was eventually reported as missing by Naresh on the 5th of August, and reported that she left for days at a time twice in the past, but always came back home. He added that she didn't have any transport since she didn't have a car, and it remains unknown whether she owned a cell phone, and if so, whether it had been on her when she went missing that day. Mamta was known to go for walks in the woods near her house, and these were thoroughly searched without any result. Blooms Park was also searched since it's situated close to the house but failed to offer up any clues. Investigators have stated that the case is being treated as an involuntary disappearance. After searching the couple's house, Naresh was arrested on the 22nd of August 2024 and charged with concealment of a body despite Mamta not being found. Naresh sold his Tesla just days before the search was conducted, and it's now hoped that GPS data from that vehicle, as well as body-worn cameras worn by officers during the welfare check, will provide further clues in the case. Mamta is described as having black hair and brown eyes, standing 5 feet tall and weighing 132 pounds. It isn't known what she was wearing when she went missing. Anyone who can provide further information on this case is asked to contact the Manassas Park Police Department at 703-361-1136. You can also submit a tip to the Manassas Park Crime Solvers at 703-330-0330. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.